Until now, I mainly talked about why trust premium exists and what it depends on. A critical comment that I made was that it is relative. It varies with the industry and it varies with specific customers or even types of customers. Some industries warrant higher premiums and some less. Some customers use certain criteria to decide whether to trust you, while others use other criteria. So now you know, but knowledge is not enough. W. Edward Deming, who was considered the father of the quality movement, said once, "If you can't describe what you are doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing." So it's time to put everything together in a process for you. In this episode, I will take you through the process of identifying the highest trust premium in your industry, how to find out what behaviors you must change to get customers with higher trust premium, and how to keep your existing customers from switching to a competitor who offers a distrust discount just to take them away from you. And also how to use the trust habits process to form new habits that will change those old behaviors and build your trustworthiness that would reward you with the highest possible trust premium you can get. Right after this. Welcome to The Trust Show. I'm Yoram Solomon, your host, the author of the Book of Trust, and facilitator of the Trust Habits Workshop. My mission is simple. I want to help you form habits that build your trustworthiness, because the answer to this question will have the biggest impact on your personal and professional success or failure. Can I trust you? The process I'm going to take you through goes through three major stages, phases, or steps. And we're going to start with the first one. The first one is that you need to survey your own industry's trust preference and trust premium. Different industries have different trust preferences, different trust premiums, different behaviors, different contexts. So, for example, when I did my study and started with financial advisors and insurance agents, what I found was, for example, that financial advisors could get a 39.4%, almost 40% trust premium, whereas an agent, an insurance agent, an independent insurance agent could get 5.5% premium on the insurance premium, on the policy premium. So that's a pretty big difference, but you have to keep in mind that a financial advisor is actually the person who delivers the results. That's one thing. And whereas the insurance agent only connects you with an insurance company that has a premium, has policies with premiums. And so it's a little harder to give someone who's in an intermediary, give them something like what you give a financial advisor who is actually the person doing the job and doing the investment. The other thing is, and these are just two examples of different contexts in different industries. So the other one is that a financial advisor, you can see pretty quickly what they do and how good they are, whereas with an insurance agent, you will only know when you actually have a claim and you need them. So there are different industries have different premiums. I gave an example before. Even within an industry, you have to understand the nuances. And the example I gave was with a photographer. And so, for example, you can think of photographers in a studio, so doing headshots or a photo shoot in a studio, versus a photographer that comes to cover an event such as a wedding. Here, it's not so much a difference in what they do, because both photographers take pictures, they both use cameras. In both cases, it depends on themselves, on their skills. Here, the differences are in the consequences. What are the consequences of getting a studio photographer to if you get the cheap one and not one you can trust, and then you realize why you got the cheap one. Remember, you get what you paid for, right? And what's the worst thing that can happen with a studio photo shoot? I mean, you're going to have to do it again, maybe pay again if you can't get your money back on the first time, maybe waste some time, maybe wait a little longer to get the pictures, but that's it. That's manageable. On the other hand, what would happen if you get a cheap wedding photographer and then later you realize that you get what you paid for and you get crappy pictures or no pictures at all, and you realize why you trust them less? The consequences are much more severe. So when the consequences are more severe, the premium is going to be, the trust premium is going to be higher. And so will the trust preference typically. But trust preference is typically hovering very close to the 100% anyway. So the trust premium is going to be higher when you're talking about more significant consequences. So what's the first step? The first step is you need to figure out what is the trust premium in your own industry. And the way to do that is to actually use a panel of potential customers. So you don't know who's a potential customer or not, but you can somehow categorize them and know that, if you're a wedding photographer and that's your industry, who are you going to target? You're going to target relative younger people, unmarried, right, single, and so it's easier to know who to target because those are going to be the ones that might hire a wedding photographer. So this survey, and you want to survey again, you want to survey enough to get a reasonable enough margin of error, and margin of error typically is calculated based on the sample size. So I would say kind of if your total population of people who would fit the bill to who you're trying to assess, to survey, if that is a very large number, then about a 200 person survey would get you approximately 7% margin of error. And if you can get up to 500, I think the number is about 2% or 3% margin of error. And there are calculators that you can use to calculate the margin of error, potential margin of error. So I would say somewhere between 200 and 500 is probably the level of granularity that you want to get. And again, so this is what's called a panel survey. You survey people you don't know, not your customers or anything like that. What do you find? Well, the first thing you find is how high are the trust preference and premium in your industry. So if I found that it was 39.4% in the financial advisory industry and 5.5% in the independent insurance agent industry and 29.3% for the contractor industry, then you're going to find what it is in your industry. Now, if it's very low, maybe because the product is a commodity and there are many people you can go to, the consequences are not very high. So some of the unique characteristics of your specific industry that may dictate a very, very low trust premium. And if the trust premium is very low, maybe that's the point to drop it and say, I'll just continue and do what I do. I know that I live in an industry of commodities, and there's not going to be a premium, and I can't offer a premium by being more trusted. Often you're going to find that there is a premium. The question is, what is the premium? One other thing that's really important to find out, and you will find that out in the initial panel survey, is how strong are the 4 R's? The fifth law of trust is transferable, and the transferability is dependent on 4 R's. And the first one is reputation. And specifically, I'm talking about a company reputation. So if you're working in a company, photographers typically don't, financial advisors typically do, insurance agents typically do. So does the reputation of the company affect anything? But then there are the other 3 R's. References. So Do new customers rely on references that you might provide them, that they check out of your previous customers? Recommendations. Will your customers, previous customers, on their own recommend you to people who trust them? And on the flip side of it, how likely are people who are potential customers to ask someone they know and trust whether they can provide a recommendation? And finally, reviews and ratings that are typically done online. How willing are your current customers or customers in general in your line of work? How likely or willing are they to post reviews online or ratings online? And how much do potential customers consider those reviews and ratings? So that's another thing that you want to find out. And the third thing you want to find out is, in your industry, what are the qualities, whether you're a salesperson, professional, or anything, you're selling something, what are the qualities that have the biggest impact on trust premium? And even what are the ones that have the least impact? But you want to kind of rank them. So the first thing that you get out of a trust premium panel survey before you ever start asking your own customers is identify what it is. What is the trust premium in your industry? What are the factors that affect it? And, the consequences and so on. And among them, very important, inbound transferable trust and outbound transferable trust in the form of the 4 R's: reputation, reference, recommendation, and reviews or ratings. So actually it's 5 R's, reviews and ratings, but reviews and ratings are the same thing. And then the third thing is, what are the qualities that affect the trust premium in your industry the most or the least? Just rank them. So that's one thing that you get. The second thing, and this is especially when you start going with a larger panel, but now we can start looking for correlations, because there are different people, there are different potential customers, and some customers, some demographics are willing to pay a higher premium. Whether it's related, and this is based on their demography, and you have to be as detailed as possible with asking demographic questions. So this could be things like age, which I found had in several things had more significant or less significant impact. Gender, maybe. Number of kids in the house. Do you own your house or you rent your house? How many cars? How many people are in the household? How old are your kids? And things like education level. There are things that you might find that actually are correlated to the trust premium. Why is that important? It's important because then you can find that there are certain segments of customers that are better to go after. So if you find that, for example, people who own their homes are more likely to pay a higher premium to an insurance agent, then maybe to maximize your premium, this is who you want to go after. So the second very important part here is to segment the industry that you're in based on the correlation between demographics and trust premium. You want to maximize the trust premium. What are the demographics? What is the segment of potential customers that would give you the highest premium? But beyond that, you also want to find out what are the 4 R's for that segment. How are they different? What are the factors that affect trust premium for this segment? What are the qualities of salespeople or professionals that are more important or less important to this segment? So it's important not only to segment, but also to see inbound and outbound what affects that trust premium and how they affect trust premiums of, or willing to affect the trust premium of others through outbound transferable trust. So I'll summarize step one. Step one is a survey of your industry. You want to find out what the maximum trust premium is You want to find out what are the factors that affect it. You want to find out what are the qualities that are important, including the 4 Rs, the willingness to, or the reliance on inbound transferable trust and the willingness to provide outbound transferable trust. I think I mentioned the qualities of salespeople and professionals in general in your industry, but then you want to go a level deeper, and that is segment within that panel, segment demographics that will give you higher trust premium. You care about those. And what are the factors, the qualities, and the 4 Rs of inbound and outbound transferable trust for that specific segment? That's step number one. And even though I know that it sounds complicated and all, I already have those surveys and so on. It should really take not a lot more than 2 weeks to get that kind of information to you. Step number 2 might take a little longer because now we're going to run an assessment on your current customers. And the reason we do that is there are several things that we want to find out. First of all, in step 1, we found out what is the maximum trust premium that you can get in your industry. Now we want to find out what is the trust premium that you currently have with your existing customers. How close are you to the potential trust premium that you can get? If we find that in step 1 that the industry will take 39.4%, like it does for financial advisors, 39.4%, and you're at 12%, we've got a problem. They are not paying you a premium for, they're not willing to pay you a premium for your trustworthiness. And I'm going to bet that it's not because they're different than the panel that we've done, but because you are not as trustworthy as you should be or could be. So we want to find out where you are right now. Now, if we know that the industry average for your specific industry in your specific customer segment is 30% and you're at 28%, you know, I remember once when somebody did a body fat assessment on me, and, you know, he was starting to sell me on everything he can do to lower the body fat percentage. And when he got the results, he said, you don't need to do anything. You're good. And it's the same thing. If the trust premium is the potential trust premium that we did in step 1 is 30% and you're at 28, 27, you don't need to do anything really. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, maybe what we need to do is understand what is it that you're doing that causes that trust premium to be that high, and just keep on doing it. This is, you know, that I'm a big believer in. Let's start with, I don't believe in never mess with success. I'm a big believer in mess with success. Understand why you're successful, so that you can repeat it more intentionally. So now we want to find out, first of all, what is the trust premium within your existing customers. What that tells us is, it tells us, first of all, what is the probability that you're going to lose customers to competitors, new or existing. In other words, what is the distrust discount that your competitor has to offer in order to take away your customers? What is that discount? So if they lower their fees or prices by 10%, will they be able to take away customers? And it's important to know that. And the highest your trust premium is, the higher their discount has to be in order to be able to take customers away from you. Third thing we want to find out is, how good is the transferable trust that they provide, that your current customers provide, the outbound transferable trust. We don't care much about the inbound transferable trust this time because they're already your customers. So are they willing to be references for you if you ask them? If somebody asks them for a service provider or a product salesperson, whatever you are in your industry, are they willing to recommend you to someone who trusts them? And finally, are they willing to post reviews or ratings? So these are three of the 4 R's. The fourth R is reputation of the company. But you can find out how do they consider the reputation of the company that you work for, if you work for a company. And very important is the last part. And that is where are the opportunities to modify current behaviors that will increase the trust premium. So if your potential trust premium in your industry is 30% and you're at 27%, I would say, fine, let's find out what you're doing. Let's wrap it up here because there's not a lot of room for improvement. But if you find that the industry is at 30% premium and you're at 12 or 8%, let's find out, and we do that in step 2, let's find out what are the opportunities to what behaviors can change that will increase the trust premium. We may be able to list many of them, and the most important thing is that we will rank them based on what would have the biggest impact. What's the 80-20 rules? So that's step number 2. Step number 2 is now we're doing an assessment of your current customers, your current sales process, to find out what your trust premium is relative to what we found in step 1 is the industry trust premium. Based on that, we calculate what's the probability that you lose customers to competitors and what is the discount that competitors have to offer. We find out how good is their outbound transferable trust so that other customers can rely on them because you use your current customers to get new customers. That's the best way to get them, not cold calls. And finally, we identify specific behaviors, the ones that have the biggest impact on increasing your trustworthiness and therefore your trust premium. That's step number 2. Final step is step number 3. So where are we at this point? You know where the industry is. You even identified a specific segment that would maximize trust premium. You know what they care about. You know what behaviors. Now you know your own customers, and you can compare the behaviors that you are currently exhibiting to the behaviors that they consider to be important to build trust premium. So now you know what behaviors you need to change. And it is time to change behaviors. And for that, I have another process that I call the trust habits process, but you have to do it twice. The trust habit process is a process that, to say it in simple term, it's a process to form new habits that change old behaviors and build your trustworthiness. And as a result, the trust premium that you will command in your market, in your industry. So why do you have to do it twice? Because you have to look at it in the context of gaining new customers, and you have to look at it in the context of maintaining and not losing your existing customers. Last week, I talked about the importance of post-purchase trust. And it's important. Post-purchase trust is important for 2 reasons. If your business is characterized by multiple purchases or an ongoing relationship, obviously you want to maintain higher level of trust so that it's going to be harder and harder for your customers to leave you for a competitor that offers a small discount. But the second reason for that, why it's important, is because of the outbound transferable trust. Because your customers are the outbound source for transferable trust, but the inbound source for transferable trust to new customers. So one, you need to run the trust habits process and identify and change a behavior for gaining new customers and for maintaining the existing customers. So you have to look at it twice from the 2 different perspectives. I'm not going to talk much about the trust habits process. I talked about it in the past. I'll talk about it in the process in the future. This time, I just wanted to talk about the higher level process of how you maximize and find and maximize your trust premium in your market. But I'm just going to talk about what the 7 steps of trust habits process is or are. One is your focus on segment, which we have done, and the focus will likely be based on the highest trust premium. So what customer segment, what demographics would warrant the highest trust premium? This is who we want to focus on, unless it's too small of a segment and you need to focus on more, or there are any other reasons to focus on more, but you have to focus on a segment. So in step one, you have to identify who is it that you're after. And this, by the way, is an adapted version of trust habits for building trust in a different relationship or within an organization. They're all adapted, but they all have the same 7 steps. The first one is identify a specific relationship. Here, it's identify a specific customer. Number 2 is identify the behavior that comes across most of the time as holding you back from being more trusted and therefore from getting a higher trust premium. So step 1 really comes from step 1 overall of the process I described, from the initial survey of what I call a panel, people who are not your customers, but have the demographics of being your customers. Step 2 comes from the bigger step 2, which is a survey of your own customers and what they say about you. Step 3 is we identify a new habit that you need to form to change the old behavior that's holding you back. Step 4 is making it smart. So making it specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This is not my framework. The SMART framework, I don't even remember where it came from, but it's industry. It's known in the industry. Number 5 is make it stick. How can we make it easier to form this habit? Number 6 is have an accountability partner, and that typically doubles the probability of you achieving that new habit or forming that new habit. I actually like to look at it as, because we're going from 50% to 95%, so we're almost doubling the probability. I like to look at it as we are reducing the probability of not achieving your goal by 90%, from 50% to 5%. Number 7 is repeat until you form the habit. So how many times do you need to repeat that? How long do you need to repeat that behavior until it becomes a habit? So as I said, you have to do that, go through this process twice. Maybe, just maybe, the new habit is the same habit for existing customer and for new customers. Great, there's one habit to work on. It might be 2 different habits, which means that one habit needs to be formed to gain new customers. One habit needs to be formed to prevent existing customers from leaving or maintain existing customers. Maybe you have, maybe you're a sales leader that has multiple people. Some are focused on getting new customers. Others are focused on maintaining existing customers. And therefore you need one of them or one group needs to focus on forming habits to gain new customers through building trust and getting a higher trust premium, while the other group of salespeople or professionals, and maybe their customer service, need to focus on what habits need to change or need to form to change behaviors that will maintain existing customers. So that's step 3. These are the 3 steps. Let me summarize them again. In step 1, we need to find out what is the trust premium in your industry. And with that, a side product. So we want to find what the trust premium is. We also want to find out what are the factors that affect it. We want to find out how strong are the outbound and inbound transferable trust, the 4 R's of reputation, reference, recommendation, and reviews or ratings. And we want to find out what are the qualities that affect trust premium in that industry. But the side effect of it is that if we do a big enough panel, we will find that different segments within the panel, different demographics within the panel, within your target customers, tend to either have higher trust premiums or just different factors that affect it and different qualities that would affect your trustworthiness. And we want to know that so that it would help you focus on specific segments where the trust premium, either the trust premium is higher or it's easier to get there. In step 2, we are doing an assessment of your current customers because we want to find out, first of all, where are you in your current trust premium? So how easy it is for you to get new customers because you have such high trust premium, and how hard it is for your competitors to take your current customers away from you because you make it hard because you have a high trust premium. If you find that your trust premium is very close to the optimal for the industry, or heck, maybe even higher than that, then great. There's nothing to do here other than learn from your success so that you can repeat it more intentionally. But we also find the probability that you will lose your customers. We will find out how good the transferable trust is that they provide outbound. So when somebody else asks them, or when you ask them to be your references, are they willing to be a reference? Are they giving good recommendation when somebody asks? Are they giving good reviews or willing to give good reviews and ratings? And what do they think about the reputation of the company that you're in? And finally, we identify in step 2 the opportunities to modify current behaviors that will increase the trust premium. And we do that this time for the existing customers because they can actually rate you. Non-existing or future customers cannot. And finally, in step 3, it's how you form new habits. We're going to use the trust habits process, the 7-step process. We know where we are. We know what the behavior is that you need to change, either to gain new customers or to maintain existing customers in a way that would increase your trust premium. And we just deploy it. And as I suggested, you deploy it separately for new customers and existing customers, unless it's really the same behavior. And that is the 7-step trust habits process. That's it for today. I hope this made you think a little differently about trust and about sales. May trust be with you. This was The Trust Show. What would you like to know about trust and trustworthiness? Let me know and I'll answer it in a future episode. I would love to hear from you. Email me at yoram@thetrustshow.com. If you like this episode, subscribe to the show so you will automatically get notified when I release a new episode. Rate it. Write a review for this podcast because those ratings help not only you, but also others looking for podcasts just like this. If you're looking for more resources to learn about how to build trust, be trusted, or know who to trust, look up my workshops, online courses, books, or go to my website, trusthabits.com. And remember that the answer to these 2 questions will have the biggest impact on your personal and professional success or failure. Can I trust you? And can you trust me? Thank you for listening or watching The Trust Show.